Lighting is the most powerful tool you have to control how a portrait feels, but the industry has this inverted bell curve problem. On one end, you have the feelers, photographers who rely purely on vibes and never analyze why a light looks good. On the opposite end, you have the technicians, guys who read about the inverse square law before bed and nerd out on the lighting diagrams. But the professionals live right here in the middle, and they know that the best images come from when you know how you want the image to feel and also understand how to achieve that technically. So that's exactly what we'll be covering in this video, a simple framework that bridges the technical with the emotional, and how to actually use that in your next session. So the concept is really simple. I call it the cross of light. We have light going from dark to bright on one axis and from hard to soft on the other. Obviously, light has more to it than these two axes, but this stripped down version is what helps me quickly map a feeling to the technical properties of the light. Okay, so first let's talk about how that actually looks, and then we'll map the corresponding emotions to it. Now, I really love the idea that Eskimos have many different words to describe different types of snow. Their language demands that they constantly specify the state, texture, and movement of the snow. So in turn, it makes them subconsciously aware that there can be many different types of snow. What I mean by that is we can't easily notice things unless we have words to describe them. And I think the same applies to light. We have to have words to articulate how the light looks to be able to notice it. So when I describe light as being hard or soft, I'm basically referring to how fast the transition between the shadow and the highlight is. Here's an example. Hard light on the right, soft light on the left. And you can instantly see the difference in the shadow under the nose and under the chin. Now, the softness of light is determined by the size of the light source. Big light source, soft light, small light source, hard light. The easiest way to visualize it is by thinking about sunlight. On a cloudy day, there are virtually no shadows. The clouds work as one giant softbox, big light source. When it's sunny, the light source is a tiny speck in the sky, and in turn, the shadows are very harsh. Now, the other axis, dark to bright, is somewhat less obvious. We have extreme examples here. On the left, the whole image is very dimly lit, even the subject. And on the other side, we have a very brightly lit image with a lot of fill, with a lot of ambient light. But in real life, you have the whole spectrum here. For the simplicity of things, I usually look at how dark the shadows are first, and then the overall image, where the background sits and how well the subject is lit. Now, looking at the cross of light, you can see we have 4 distinct types of lighting: bright and hard, bright and soft, dark and hard, dark and soft. This does not limit us to only 4 types, these are just the extremes, and you can also map any lighting scheme anywhere on this diagram or have several different schemes in the same spot. I'll show you some examples in a second, but let's get to the emotional side first. Each of the quadrants evoke a certain set of feelings. This is subjective, and I'll share what each one means to me, but you can use this concept to map out whatever each type of light makes you feel. To me, bright and soft light means gentle, airy, and optimistic. Bright and hard feels energetic, bold, and confident. This is a fashion look to me. Dark and soft is luxurious, intimate, emotional, dramatic. Dark and hard is raw, mysterious, and powerful. So there are 2 ways I actually use this. First is when I'm preparing for a photo shoot. I think about my subject and the way I want to portray them. The cross of light works perfectly here because it bridges the way I feel thinking about my subject and the way I intend to light them. Second is when I analyze other photographers' work and look for inspiration. I try to look at the images through the lens of these 4 quadrants and map how that image made me feel. I then analyze how the photographer lit the image to achieve that feeling. Let's double click into the first one and see how you can do it too. So I usually split a 2-hour photo shoot into 3 different sets, meaning each set has a different vibe, different light, and different outfit. So when I prepare my mood board, I start by splitting it into 3 parts. Now, each set has 9 different sections like poses, color palettes, clothes, and others. I'll probably do a separate video on mood boarding. So the feeling is the section I start my creative process with. Let's say I'll be doing a maternity photo shoot. I could then pick my first set to be luxurious, second set to be very artistic, and maybe third set to be casual. Now, step 2 is to translate what those feelings mean visually. To me, luxurious means dark background, a lot of shadows, directional light from the side or from above, but still soft. So this goes into the dark and soft quadrant. Now the second set gives me a couple of ideas. So I could go the very bright, soft, flowy fabrics, sheer curtains way, or I could go with the white cyclorama, backlit silhouette type of shots. Either way, I'd probably put both of those into the bright and soft quadrant. Now set 3 could be just imitating daylight. Blue jeans, white t-shirts kind of vibe, also bright and soft. And that's pretty much it. I do a quick Pinterest search trying to see how others make these ideas work, and draw quick lighting diagrams just for myself for reference just before the photo shoot. Now, this might not seem obvious, but I don't really do a deep research every time I need to work out how to light a set. I have something like 7 or 8 go-to lighting schemes that cover all 4 quadrants. And then I do some kind of variation of those depending on the context. So here are the top 4 easiest ones, one for each of the quadrants. You can just copy-paste these for your next photo shoot as a base and then build on top of it to make it your own. So the first one is bright and soft. I use one big octabox placed at roughly 45 degrees, slightly above eye level to create this soft and pleasant Rembrandt lighting. And then to fill in the shadows and lift the general brightness of the frame, I put another light with a hard reflector on the other side and point it at the ceiling. The second one is dark and soft, and we'll basically use the same octabox from the first quadrant. This time we'll place it a bit to the side of the subject, lift it slightly up and turn it away from the background. The second difference is we won't be needing the fill light, and instead we're gonna place a black polyboard to absorb the light and darken the shadows on the subject. Number 3 is bright and hard. For this one you'll only need one light, and you can use it bare bulb or with a hard reflector. Place it close to your camera, slightly to the side and above. Move your subject closer to the backdrop and point the light straight at them. And number 4 is dark and hard. Very similar to the second one, except instead of the octabox, we're gonna be using a hard reflector with a grid. Now, if I need to do a headshot, I might use the first scheme and reduce the fill light to make the background neutral gray. Or if I shoot an actor or a musician, I might use the fourth light scheme, just add a rim light to make it feel like they're on a stage. Now, it might seem that I have a lot of ideas, but what it actually is that I've just analyzed quite a few images in my career, and I have them neatly organized and placed in these little quadrants on the cross of light in my head. Every time I scroll through Instagram or Pinterest and I see an image that makes me feel something, I try to figure out what I'm feeling and what the photographer did with the light to make me feel that way. So if you hear people say that a photographer has a unique vision or their style is very distinct, that's exactly what it means. It means that they have figured out their unique association between the feeling and the technical setup. Okay, so what now? There are 2 things you can do this week. Number 1, on your next photo shoot, make sure you do your preparation in the order I just talked about. Start with a blank mood board, decide how you want the images to feel, make the association between the feeling and the quadrant, and go looking for a visual inspiration that matches the feeling you're going after. Number 2, every time you see an image you like, try to figure out what it is about the image that makes you feel the way you do, and then just save it to a Pinterest board dedicated specifically to that quadrant. Now, the cross of light is really just one tool from the deepest layer of what makes a portrait work. If you want to see where it fits and why getting this layer right is the thing that actually protects you as AI keeps getting better, watch this video next. It's the one I'd start with if you're rethinking how you approach portrait photography from the ground up. And if you want to go deeper, there's a free 30-day email course linked below, where I break down concepts like this one every day for a month. That's it for now. I hope it's been helpful. Thanks for watching and see you on the next one.